Hello, everybody. It's October 9th, and we're doing security and nonsense. And I don't have anything else to say.
I was kind of waiting for a follow-up.
I
Usually give
was
us
trying to
something.
think of anything interesting, and it's like, I don't really have anything.
It's brought to you by Linode. We've got a coupon. You can sign up for Linode and basically have free service for a little while. They got to make sure you're legit and not a bot, though. So you got to give them some information. But you can spin up a machine for Rust or Go or your own self-hosted WireGuard VPN or Amazon-like block storage. Yeah, it turns out S3 really expensive. All the Amazon services are crazy expensive. Even Netlify is expensive. You can DIY it and you can do it better on Linode. And you can set it up for free and learn. And we're doing Devember, which is something we do every year in December, but it's not December yet. But the world situation, you've got time probably. You want to learn Rust or Go in the cloud? Work on a Linux virtual machine with Linode? Yeah, there's a link for Devember below, so check that out.
Develop some remote employment skills.
Yeah.
They might be in demand.
Yeah, it turns out that it's never been easier. Like if you work as any kind of developer, it has never been easier to get a job, mostly because everybody has to work remote at this point. So,
well, if you want to hack on something and you don't sign up for Linode for some reason, I don't know, maybe you're already on Linode. One thing that you can play with, and we now know that it is in fact genuine, is the Windows XP source code.
Windows XP leak confirmed after a user compiles the leaked code into a working OS. It's missing a few components, but it is authentic. One of the components that's missing is winlogin.exe, but most of the rest of the operating system is there. It's not just Windows XP, it's also 2003, so like Server 2003. So that's quite the extensive code base. And that's got to be great for a compatibility layer. Maybe we can fill in the missing pieces from Wine. Although, if you do that, it has to be a clean room. So there has to be one person that only ever has access to the Windows XP source code who explains to another person what they saw in order to build that perfect compatibility layer.
He was able to Frankenstein in some drivers and the WinLogon and stuff and get a somewhat functional version. But you probably won't be able to get a free version of Windows XP anytime soon. You still have to. We could probably get that for 50 cents at this point.
That seems exceedingly dangerous anyway, given the security aspect.
Throw caution to the wind. It's 2020. What else could go wrong?
That could be
fate.
What?
So don't tempt it.
Don't tempt
Say
fate.
things like that.
That could be your Devember project. Is like, oh, look at what I did. I did, Bob's modern Windows XP, which has had its driver layer updated to work with Windows 10 drivers.
And I'll put that in the cloud for the world to hack into. That's a great idea. Well, so if you do develop those remote development skills, one place that you might want to apply for a job, because there might suddenly be some job openings there, is the shipping industry. I have a feeling some people might have lost their jobs.
All 4 of the world's largest shipping companies have now been hit by cyber attacks. Ransomware specifically. The maritime industry needs to focus more on securing its shore-based systems and stop prioritizing the less likely ship-based attacks.
Now, this is not the ships themselves. This is the docks and all of how they're managing the cans. And there are amazing software systems that keeps track of all these little cubes right here. Oh, those aren't
inventory.
Cubes. They're rectangles. But
Shipping containers.
it's a very complicated. And if you're shipping, I mean, how many containers are on those ships? It's
Thousands.
Because the crazy thing about it is, the ones you see, there are more below there, below the water level. So if you can't figure out which one I paid for and where that's supposed to go, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Flashbacks to the 2020 toilet paper shortages in March.
People just overturning ships, going
Trying
through
to find
the
toilet
cans, trying to find things.
Remember we did a really horror story where a bunch of like really mangled children's dolls were washing up, and it was because they lost the container at sea and it finally rusted open from wherever it was, and all the dolls floated to the top, and so it was just a massacre wherever those washed up at.
Oh no.
What's happening? It's like, yeah, we lost a shipping container.
That'd be funny. Like, you're prying off the locks off those shipping containers. It's like, let's hope it's cornmeal or wheat. And you pop it open, it's like, it's cocaine again. We can't eat this.
There's not a single Chef Boyardee in here.
Well, we all know that 2020 is suffering from a WAP problem.
I knew that was coming.
Some people might say that's not a problem, but it's not what you're thinking. It's the other WAP.
Google removes 17 Android apps caught engaging in WAP billing fraud. So it turns out that you can download it, like in some markets, you can download an app and it can bill you through your wireless carrier. That's the wireless part of WAP.
God, there's so many fraudulent apps. You need a bucket and a mop to clean them all up.
You've been holding on to that one, haven't you, all week?
I just came up with that one. I'll have you know. Thank you very much. I did think about the intro when I read it originally, though. I mean, how could you not? How could that acronym not be burned in all of our brains at this point?
Yeah.
Well, one thing about technology is one of the excuses that we constantly give in terms of why we can't have certain nice things in technology is think of the children. How will we care for the children? And it seems like schools have no way of protecting the children from a new kind of threat.
A hacker published thousands of students' grades and private information after a Nevada school district refused to pay a ransom. So this is let this be a lesson to you that sometimes, when the ransomware is in there, it's like, oh, we don't have any evidence that they took anything. They took stuff.
They interviewed the FBI here, and the FBI was like, why? Did you advise them to protect the children? And the FBI was like, no, don't pay ransomware.
Yeah. Fun fact, if you pay the ransomware and it ends up in Iran, you will get a visit from the State Department. So that's exciting.
We are, I think it's kind of calmed down a little bit, especially leading up to the election. I don't think anybody wants to make waves, but there is a concerted effort in this country to defund the police. I don't know exactly what we're trying to accomplish with that, but it's definitely happening. And I imagine even if you're not defunding, you're probably worried about big headlines that say that you're increasing funding or renewing funding or something like that. And so those police, when they need certain tools, are forced to get creative and bypass the whole process of checks and balances.
A police charity bought an iPhone hacking tool. Wait, how? And then gave it to cops. Yeah, because we always do these stories, and it's like, now, not everybody can buy these things to hack into iPhones. But it turns out a police charity apparently can.
All these guys are retired cops that run these things, so they have the connections. I don't know if it's legal, but they've got the Rolodex to do it.
They don't know either.
This was they don't care. This was a gray key, and it was $17,000 a year, I think. And sure enough, picked it up, passed it on over to the cops. Something ain't right about that.
Well,
A little bit scarier than a shipping container or a shipper being affected is, of course, hospitals. Now, we saw the story was a couple of weeks ago. The woman actually died.
That was in the UK, and the ransomware people had no idea. And then when they did, they were like, all right, here's the key. It's unlocked. But somebody had already died.
That has been turned into a murder investigation.
Wow.
Yeah. But it hasn't stopped other ransomware people from picking up the torch.
Healthcare giant UHS hit by ransomware attack, sources say. So this is a global, not global, but like a regional provider, I guess. There's something like 400, 600 hospitals were affected by this.
It's a common thing where one giant umbrella entity will just buy up all the little hospitals in a place.
Yeah, it's if you're, in charge of IT and technology for that, you've done something wrong in your architecture if that type of a failure makes all of those hospitals vulnerable.
But you've done something right in your architecture if you're harvesting all that medical data.
To sell to the insurance companies?
Anonymizing it, of course. This is a little bit of a non-story, although it does, reveal the relationship between our tech overlords and our law enforcement overlords and how they communicate with one another and how they make money selling and buying data about us.
This is how police request customer data from Amazon. They've got a copy of the form. This is like the most mundane thing. This reads like something from like a Ray Bradbury novel where it's just like, okay, fill out the form, blah blah blah, let us know what you needed. There is, like, if it's an emergency or whatever, there is a way to bypass this, but yeah, it's just, who's the Amazon customer, and it gives you an idea of the type of data that you can get. Purchase history, Amazon AWS access. So if the target is an AWS customer, that law enforcement can get surreptitious copies or access to their Amazon AWS instance. It takes a lot to build that out, that kind of infrastructure.
The thing that they didn't really expand on, and I wish they would have, is, like you say, there is a checkbox that's like, I don't have time for a review, just give me the data. I swear I am who I say I am.
Yeah.
Does that work the way I think it works?
Probably.
That could be abused.
I'm Inspector Clouseau of Scotland Yard. Send me send me that S3 bucket now.
And Amazon's just like, well, he did say he's from Scotland Yard.
Sir, we have an Inspector Gadget who's requested 500,000 different users' data. Moving on to nonsense. Now, Subway is one of those weird places. As a younger man, I ate a lot of Subway.
It was pretty good.
I think nothing about them anymore.
Yeah.
I was never super into, Subway is exactly fine. I don't ever want to go to Subway, but, if someone's like, do you want to go? I'd be like, yeah, okay.
I love the chicken bacon ranch, but they always put way too much ranch on it. So I have to get the ranch on the side and just a tiny drizzling of ranch, but I just don't have the taste for it anymore.
Yeah, seems like something changed. I don't know. But in Ireland, where they have some interesting laws, it's funny. Europe has, because in German they've got the beer law.
Yeah, it's got to be beer.
And of course champagne.
Yeah,
it's not champagne if it's not from Champagne. Turns out Ireland's got some laws about bread.
Irish court says the Subway bread is too sugary to be called bread. This is a tax thing, of course. But there's too much sugar in Subway bread for it to actually be called bread. So
bread is a staple food that is not subject to VAT taxing. And they said, hey, these might be sandwiches, but it's bread, so we don't really want to pay you VAT taxes. And they said, check the law, bro. Turns out, because bread is a staple, but donuts aren't, the threshold is 10%. There is 10% sugar in Subway bread.
That is kind of horrifying.
I can see that.
It doesn't really taste all that sugary.
A friend of mine in Europe said when she came over here that everything tasted like it was way sweeter, way too sugary. And she specifically cited bread as being really sugary here.
Well, she's right.
Yeah.
10%. That is a non-trivial amount of sugar.
That is a lot of sugar.
Yeah. And speaking of things that we consume a lot of here in the U.S., this one probably doesn't surprise you, especially considering the year we've had.
Americans are drinking more alcohol than in 2019. It's up by quite a bit. And alcohol companies, they don't need to bother with any kind of advertising anymore.
Just flash news headlines.
Yeah.
You're going to die.
The greatest changes were among women and people 30 to 59 years old.
Yeah, the women one was crazy.
It was like a doubling.
41%.
I basically almost never drink, and I bottled a bottle of wine this weekend. So,
did you drink all of it and get wild?
I got wild. I had 2 glasses.
I think we're gonna have to do another drunk news soon.
Were you just
It's almost holiday season. We usually do one around the holiday.
Were you just out there with all of your plants on the balcony, topless, going crazy?
I was playing Minecraft, and I was relaxing.
Frolicking among your peppers.
Yeah. No, I have a compost bin now. That's the new thing that I'm going to be obsessively watching through the winter.
How you're not supposed to open it up too often. Are you just constantly looking?
No, I started to today, and then I was like, I don't need to look. It won't be dirt yet.
What's it take? 6 months minimum?
Not 6 months. I think it can be anywhere from 2 to 6, I guess. Yeah, so it depends on how hot it is and how good your mix is and how.
Are you looking at doing some myco supplementing, dropping some spores or something in there?
No.
Worms?
Now, the thing I read online said that if you do get worms or flies or anything like that, that's normal and that's okay. Don't worry about it. They'll help break it down faster. I haven't seen any yet, but
it's important to note that's in your compost, not in your stool.
I've got worms in my stool. Ah!
Well, you know where it would be a nightmare to have worms in your stool? The International Space Station.
That would be so embarrassing trying to explain that to the other astronauts. It's like,
And like,
I have parasites.
you think you've cleaned it all up and hidden it to hide your shame, and then you're like, it's like, oh, just whistling, going about your day, and one is like slowly floating through the air.
Oh.
it's like, it's moving. It's just,
And no one will own up to it, so you got to do a butt check. Anyway, yeah, that would be terrifying, but they have a new weapon to fight against such a horrific thing happening to them.
Here's an article about NASA's new $23 million space toilet. It's ready for launch. The upgraded toilet could be used on the moon flights one day.
There it is. They have a diagram of it. Lid, seat, urine hose. Somehow there's a positive airflow that tries to mimic gravity. Basically, they suck the turds right out of you.
Nice. Probably.
I mean, that'd be terrible too, though. If you're, I don't know. I mean, I guess the guys can just, it's point and shoot. But like, for women, how do you pee in space without the pee going?
Well, they mentioned that the urine hose, obviously, Krista.
Yeah, I
and
guess.
they mentioned that it was more vagina friendly this time around.
Nice.
Imagine you're up there for what, 6-7 months,
Sometimes a year.
and like you totally get used to that kind of toilet, and you come home and you're like, I don't remember.
I don't think
Can't.
that would happen.
I don't know what to do.
Don't think that's going to be an issue.
You think maybe there's some highly educated people
Yeah.
in space? Well, we love to do animal stories here in the Level 1 News in the nonsense section, and most of the time, it's animals with exceptional abilities, and this one is no exception there. Amazing animal here.
Rat that sniffs out landmines receives award for bravery. Magawa, it's a 5-year-old African giant pouched rat, was recognized with a prestigious honor for detecting mines and explosives in Cambodia. 5 years in that work, and it managed not to get blown up.
I'm not sure it weighs enough. I think that's part
I
of
think
it.
that's why they use them. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be funny if, of course, rats don't have cognition on that level. But what if they went to the award ceremony? He's like, I've been doing what? You pricks. Thought you were just giving me treats. Yeah. Just playing your stupid game. And speaking of treats, we have a new breakthrough thanks to an animal that was described as extremely food motivated.
Kitty C, Kitty Do. Cat imitates human in first scientific demonstration of behavior. So this is a pet store owner. What was not clear to me is how is a pet store owner participating in a scientific research study?
No, they explained that.
Because the cat was part of the pet store, not the research study.
So the pet store owner knew the researcher. And the researcher was like, I'm doing research on this. And the pet store owner was like, oh, really? Because my cat does that. And she was like, cats don't do that. She's like, well, come and watch. And the cat was like my cats, completely unaccepting of strangers. So the researcher had to hide in the corner while this woman demonstrated the... Unfortunately, there's a dark cloud over this story. This cat's dead. It had a kidney problem. Yeah.
Not good.
So it's famous, but posthumously.
The cat was able to make the cognitive leap about, its owner's limbs and face mapping to its own limbs and face. So when the owner would, rub her face against a box, the cat would rub its face against a box or use her left hand, its left hand, right hand, and so on and so forth. And it was because it was extremely food motivated. Like the pet store owner would give it treats and it would do pretty much whatever she asked.
It's basically a dog.
Yeah.
Well, you can behave extremely well if there's food involved.
They mentioned, I can't find it here, but they mentioned all the other kinds of animals that can do this, and it's like dogs, dolphins, primates, obviously, and so there's a handful of others, but we did not think cats could do it. So, congratulations and rip.
Rip in peace.
The big presidential debate happened. Boy, that was something, wasn't it?
That was... I wish I'd bought my bottle of wine sooner.
Well, most people, I would say 99% of people, just sat there with their mouth open in horror wondering how we've come to this place in society and humanity. But there was that 1%
Fire up the Mike Judge movies.
who saw an unprecedented opportunity and seized it. But now they've been stopped.
CBS News reports that Amazon and eBay have already blocked sale of merchandise with stand back and stand by because apparently the white supremacists and other like extremist groups picked up on that, and
that was his instruction for the Proud Boys.
Yeah, they were like, we tell them to stand down, and he told them to stand by. And that's why I needed alcohol. And I didn't have any.
I think, honestly, though, I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. To me, that was the most insulting part of that debate, where that terrible moderator was like, "Will you denounce white supremacy?" Like, what a stupid question. Of course.
That seemed like it was a
softball question. The answer is yes, I will denounce it.
But you're buying in. But there's a lot of unspoken stuff there that you're agreeing to when you say yes. You're saying that, oh, maybe in the past I haven't done that, or that these groups are white supremacists. But
he could have just clarified his stance and been like, I denounce this, and then, blah, 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 the left. Whatever. But he didn't do that.
Yeah, well, he's not the brightest guy in the world. But
then these people started making T-shirts.
They were ecstatic about it. I think the Proud Boys are essentially like a frat for guys who would never join a frat. And they're loving it.
Wouldn't it have been better to allow them to make the shirts and then just get a list of everyone who bought one and add them and just monitor them?
I'm sure
that wouldn't be very American.
Yeah, I'm sure that already exists.
Yes, Mr. Jinping, that would be a good idea. We live here in coal country, or at least it used to be coal country.
It's all gone now.
Degrees of separation to black lung, mine is like 1.
1.
Yeah. So this is really something that we are familiar with, and these coal companies are, when you know more about it like we do because it's in our lives, they are really some of the most evil human beings. It's like Jeff Bezos, but on a more redneck level. That's basically what you're dealing with here. And
how could it possibly hurt pouring all this coal dust and runoff back into the river? It was already there in the mine.
Or you breathing it for 12 hours a day. And so this is a little bit of comeuppance, I think. It's sad, I guess, but he brought it on himself.
Bob Murray, who fought against black lung regulations as a coal operator, has filed for black lung benefits. Turns out he's not doing well.
Get shit on.
This is a guy who started out as a miner. I mean, he's ancient. I think he was mining in like the 40s or something. And he worked his way up to management and then began to denounce the idea that black lung was anything. It's definitely a thing. Like, for sure, it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a thing.
I can't wait for nanotube lung.
Tube lung. I got the tube lung.
Popcorn lung.
This is more of just, the insanity that we've come to in terms of human communication and our children.
Students suspended over recording of Calgary school principal using the N-word. So this was an assembly where the principal was, according to the school...
No, I think it was more private.
Oh, was it?
Because it was just black students he was talking to.
Oh, well... He said something along the lines of, why is it okay for you to use the N-word? But he said the N-word, and not okay for people like me to use the N-word. And I think he was trying to explain something.
He was trying to get them to stop doing it.
Yeah, because it's not appropriate.
Exactly. But they were like, we can use it because we're black. And he was trying to explain that's like, no, we have a policy. But that's not really what's at question here.
They recorded him. One
of those kids had a phone running and released the recording of him saying the word, which has been quite negative for his PR. Now, the school has a policy against recording anyone without their permission. So they were suspended on that ground, but there's a lot of baggage around this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to choose a side on this one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Bizarre.
bother.
Yeah.
This is this is in the UK. Yeah, you read this headline, you think it's American, right?
Yeah.
I'll admit, I would think this is an American headline, but across the pond, I guess they got weebs over there too.
Man 41 loses a quote-unquote unprecedented legal bid for parents' financial support. Yeah, so he said, it's like, you're my parents, you owe me something. And the court of law said, no, they don't.
41.
Okay, so it says his parents have supported him, allowing him to live in a flat in central London that they own. This sounds like this guy's really rich and is hoping to maybe inherit more than he already has. I don't know.
They held on a little longer than he thought.
Yeah.
What a truly awful human being.
Trust fund kid.
Do you think... Well, okay, so yes or no, and if yes, how many katanas does this man own?
Yes, 8.
What do upper class rich Londoners do? Do they play polo?
Sue their parents.
I doubt he's on the polo court. I don't think he could mount a horse.
I don't know.
So NASA is looking at new ways to raise money, it seems. I don't know. I mean,
this seems within our reach. It's $21,000 an hour. So we could do that.
Can you imagine? I don't know if I agree with this. Is like, who does it hurt? But then again, like, that's publicly funded.
Yeah.
So it's a little distasteful, let's say.
Estée Lauder works with NASA to send iconic advanced night repair into space. So Estée Lauder has hired NASA basically to film a commercial for them. And NASA's on board with it because NASA's going to get a lot of money. Well, $21,000 an hour.
Chris, are you a
Something
Estée
like
Lauder
that.
girl?
It's Estée Lauder.
Oh, pardon
Oh,
me.
well.
I'm not an Estée Lauder because they're expensive as hell. I don't buy Estée Lauder.
Well, it's not going to get any cheaper because they're
Yeah.
putting their shit in space.
What could we reasonably complete in an hour that would be worth? I'm sure that like Mr. Beast or Linus Tech Tips or one of those people can do. It's like build a computer on the space station, and that'll be a video. Seems like a no-brainer.
They must not be doing real. I feel like they've spent a lot of money on like random weird ads. There was one for some music video, and it was like a country music video, and it was very obvious because they like pulled it out in the video and were like, "Here's this night cream," and it was strange.
What's that got to do with country music?
I don't know. It was I can't remember the name of the artist. Someone showed me the video, and it was very insulting.
The
They
product.
also did it with like Doritos. Like in the same video, someone pulled out a bag of Doritos and ate it with like the logo facing out, and there was no hint of irony or like that they were in on the joke. It was just how the video was filmed as like an ad.
The thing that threw me at first is the product has the word repair in it, and I thought it was Estée Lauder was going to help fund some sort of optional repair in exchange for doing a commercial. And it's like, no, that's the name of the product.
That's the commercial. You just hit on
Yeah.
it. There's a breach in the space station, and they're like, "Oh God, we're losing oxygen!" And then one of them spacewalks out there and just squeezes the night repair, spackles it on there.
And then like you show her like washing her face at the end. They throw the water, and the water just glistens in the air.
He gives the thumbs up, and then like forward to all the corpses floating in the space station because that doesn't do that.
But at least I look young and beautiful while I sit here with all my corpses of my colleagues.
Do you think, considering the cost for payload to get to the space station, do you think the women take makeup?
You're allowed a little bit of personal weight, but it's not much.
Yeah, but that's like desert island stuff, right? Are you going to bother with that?
I wouldn't bother.
How much, Krista, with your daily makeup routine, how much weight would you need for a 6-month supply?
I use almond oil and sunscreen, so very little. That's it.
What's the number?
What's the number? I don't know
Are
how
we
much
talking
those
about
things
like
weigh.
20 ounces or
Yeah, I guess something like that. It wouldn't be a lot.
what's that cost? Engagement challenge. What's it cost to get 20 ounces to the space station?
Oh, I thought you meant like of like sunscreen almond oil. I was like, not much.
Every week, have we missed a week yet with the Zoom embarrassment?
No,
I think we've had one every week.
every week.
Yeah, just about.
Argentinian politician ashamed after he sucks woman's breast on Zoom meeting. Politician says he's very ashamed after being caught engaging in a sexual act on a Zoom call broadcast to. Oh no, there's a little tiny thumbnail of it too. I mean, it's just like, oh no.
We won't play the movie, the video, but it's auto playing. But yeah, he just dives right in there. He really goes to town on him.
He's like, I got disconnected, and then it reconnected. I didn't realize it reconnected.
What's weird though is like, at least from the screenshots down here, it looks like they're looking at the camera.
Yeah, he realized the camera was on, but he thought he had disconnected from Zoom. But apparently Zoom had reconnected, thinking that his disconnect was accidental. Or that's his excuse. And that is not his wife, by the way. But he had just purchased breast implants for that young lady.
Well, obviously.
Yeah. This is an exciting product. I'm a little bit terrified about what might come from this. I don't know if I would use it. I guess I probably would.
It'd probably be worth trying.
Krista?
I don't know that I would.
Just once, maybe?
I don't want ads in my dreams.
Dream shaping tech from MIT channels suggestions into your dream. So
You're getting incepted.
guiding dream could be used to boost creativity or to comfort or to confront sources of stress and trauma.
So all this little the hand stuff is just to monitor when you get to a certain part of your sleep. Now, this is not REM sleep. They're targeting what do they call it? Another part of your sleep.
I thought REM sleep was when you dreamt.
Hypnagogia. Not sure how to pronounce that word. But when you get to this, is kind of like the surface dreams. When you hit that point, it detects it, and that's when it starts like whispering in your ear and tries to make you think of things. And they got like 60%, I think, people they told them tree, and they all reported some kind of tree in their dreams.
Yeah.
Whisper, Samsung.
Some of the people reported like really, really insane stuff. So I guess that's
I
interesting.
think one of them was they were in a car that was made of a tree. The tree was never what you thought it would be, just like dreams usually are, but the tree was incorporated somehow. I don't know. If we start like messing with people's dreams, the CIA is going to really mess us up. They're probably doing that to Assange right now.
Yeah. Oh, he looked really messed up the first day he was in court. It's hopefully he's okay.
Well, the Justice Department is hard at work. Hard at work on what, you say? Reining in political corruption? No. Organized crime? No. No, not that.
Figuring out the violent protest infiltrators?
Yeah, that could be an issue. Safeguarding the election? No, not that either. It's something else.
2 members of the notorious video game piracy group Team Xecuter in custody. I don't know if they were a video game piracy group or people that were working on hardware to unlock consoles.
Mod chips. I have one of their products. Works really well.
Is that really video game piracy automatically?
So they claimed no, it's not. And in fact, they're very careful to sell these as homebrew. Right? And they'll even give you like one little sample Tetris clone. It's like, oh, here's some homebrew app. But the Justice Department argued that they went too far in their advertising. And it is actually, they have a disgusting business practice. So they sell you the hardware, and but the software is actually what does it. This is the old, remember the old switches with the NVIDIA?
Oh, yeah.
But to run actual images, ROMs on that, you have to buy a license. They were licensing there, and that was a little too brazen, I think.
Yeah.
And it only works once. So it's like the license is tied to the switch. Yeah. Dirty business practices from thieves.
Yeah.
They delved a little too greedily and a little too deep.
That's a perfect explanation of what they did. So anyway, there was 3 guys. They got 2 of them, and a couple of more at large, who have not been charged yet. So I imagine they will be, and the book will be thrown at them. With Nintendo's lawyers, pitching in at every step of the. I don't know. I don't think they. I think once Nintendo fixed it, though, I don't think it works anymore.
This week's Justice brought to you by Nintendo of America.
All the jurors get the new Mario Kart.
Yeah. It's like running around the court the entire time.
We're going to take a recess, do a quick Mario Kart run. Here's a headline that you really can't comment on. It's just the headline itself is the story.
It's
the joke.
Convicted pedophile battling police to keep job as an ice cream man. I'm sorry, sir. That's not a profession that you can be after you've been convicted.
Also, he got his nose out here.
That's the real crime.
He's got his nose out.
So this man was convicted. He is now on a monitoring service, but he got a job selling ice cream now. Mostly, who buys ice cream from ice cream trucks?
Kids.
Young children. Now you might be thinking, hey, he could have reformed. Why should we follow this man around and vilify him? Don't we trust in the system that people can change? Well, there were some mitigating factors. There were the pictures they found on his phone of dolls that he had bought from a secondhand store and arranged in sexual positions with him in the pictures. There were also
Barbie dolls, so like little dolls, like makes it even stranger.
I don't know what size they were. They were arranged around his toilet, apparently. There was also the young girl's panties he had purchased, also at secondhand stores, soiled, and then taken pictures of with him wearing them.
Ugh. I think this is a win.
So they estimate that his reoffense probability is high.
Yeah, seems like it.
I don't know if it hadn't shaken out. He was still working, I think, at the end of the story. His employer was okay with it.
That's not good.
He must be his numbers must be just through the roof. Say what you want about the man, but he moves ice cream sandwiches.
It's kind of like when you got that employee that responds to the obvious phishing scam with everybody's social security numbers. It's like, maybe we should give them access to that anymore.
And he happens to be Chinese.
Man, I didn't mean to send that email. Oh, no.
There's some dots to be connected here. And the rare design story. Now, this is a design story, and you say, "What? Why didn't you have a design section? Why are you putting it in the nonsense section?"
It's pretty nonsense.
Somewhat nonsensical.
Pantone releases period color. It is red.
It doesn't mean like, oh, this is the colonial period. It's just red.
Just it's period red.
It's menstrual blood.
I question it being this bright red, but you know.
Maybe you need some supplements.
Do you think maybe that everybody's working from home at Pantone and like this is just one person's diabolical? I'm bored. I'm gonna do this.
When are they gonna release baby poop yellow? That's the real question.
Is that you know different diets in different cultures might produce different shades of baby poop. But baby I think
some weird colors.
We all bleed red. That's the story here. Now, they say that the shade is intended to make menstruation more visible and help destigmatize normal bodily functions.
Well, I could get behind destigmatizing normal bodily functions because we're all already prudish enough about all that. So,
yeah, that's definitely true.
But we gotta have a booger color then too. Let's do booger.
Okay.
Snot.
Earwax.
Yeah.
Well, here's the idea, Krista. This can be your contribution to Pantone. Do the clay color for awareness for hepatitis.
Hepatitis poop.
I guess that's like an inside joke. The chat won't know about that. There was a Hep A outbreak a couple years ago around our town, and they kept typing up the symptoms, and the top one was clay-colored stools in all caps. That could be a Pantone color. Right.
Yeah, this room is so lovely. It's such a nice clay color. It's like, yeah, the Pantone color for this is hepatitis poop.
You move into the house and you call up the realtor. It's like, oh, I just have a quick question. We need to touch up the basement. What is that? Oh, that's hep stool. Yeah, that's a vinyl, easy clean hep stool. And our final story. Now this A lot of the times, our comments will descend into arguing about certain things, and one of the phrases that gets tossed around a lot these days is the science is settled. Now, I'm not anti-science. I would like to believe that I am pro-science, but I don't blindly trust it, just like I don't blindly trust anything. And this story is a perfect example of why we should not do that, because it has been monetized and politicized.
Popular Mechanics reports that 13 scientists have said in a real journal that there's a black hole at the center of the Earth. How did this get published?
So does that mean 2020 we're just being spaghettified and that's why everything is so weird?
So the paper was, it was a foreign publication, I think, but well respected, apparently. I mean, I don't go in these circles, so I can't be sure. And somehow, this is a peer-reviewed paper. So somehow, how many people do you need for a peer review?
A lot.
That many people, ever how many that is, read this and said, all right, I'm going to sign off on this. Now, they did something, or they are suspected of doing something. We've talked about, the AI that looks at your job application. So there are whole fields of study on how you can enhance your job application or your resume to make it AI friendly. And they believe that these guys wrote the paper in that fashion so that any AI that was looking at it would think it was real and actually really good. Which means that the review process might not be involving humans at all. People might just be signing off.
That might be good. I noticed that YouTube has changed some of their stuff to be like, a real human reviewed this. And it's like, it doesn't make them not a moron.
These guys have written other papers, which were also nonsensical and also got published.
Something about gravity waves sending signals to DNA and water molecules. And it's just like, this makes no sense.
Macedonian Journal of Medical Science is the paper. So, the next time you say the science is settled, maybe think twice.
You think maybe the explanation's a lot simpler than that, and that's just that anybody that's not completely stupid is actually just busy with other things, and so it's like, hey, we want to give you a very small amount of money to review this really hard thing for this journal because we don't make any money, and they're just like, I'm not going to bother with that because it's not worth anything monetarily. And so the only thing left is to try to get AI to review it because it's literally not worth anybody's time to review it.
Yeah, well, I think when it comes to really hardcore science, it's so granular. Like, you're studying one frog. And no one else on Earth might even know that that frog exists. And so some of the terminology, even if someone else is in the biology field, they're not going to understand your specific frog's nuances.
I wonder how Romeo's doing.
Oh, he was just overlording over a giant brood, I think, last time we checked in. Making up for lost time. Making tadpoles while the sun shines.
It's like the football player in Idiocracy.
Yeah. Just, non-stop. They had to, I think they had to pack the female on ice a couple of times. Which was tough because she's cold-blooded.
That's all we got for this week. Go sign up for November.
Krista, give us a clay-colored goodbye.
I don't know any other symptoms for Hep A. That was the only one that really stood out to me when we got all those health warnings.
I think it was it like jaundice and coloring of the skin was one of them.
Oh, yeah. But all those are color-related. I can't make a sound.
I thought you had the thing. Synesthesia. What?
But not for that.
Oh, pardon me.
Hello. Goodbye. I said the wrong word. Goodbye.
That's a sign of hepatitis.
Oh, no. I haven't been out to a restaurant, though. Hopefully I haven't.
But you have been composting.
I have.
Playing.
How would I get pay for my compost?
Because you've been pooping in the compost bucket.
Of course, yeah. That's what everyone does in their compost bucket.
Well, see you next week.
Goodbye.